What goes around comes around. Come with you, my friend. Love and peace may start to see before you reach the end. What goes around comes around. It's a rough game to play. Love and peace may start.
This is the Recklessly Skeptical Podcast. This is Matt, and
This is Josh.
Were you about to say Joe?
I think so.
I think he was. I'm Joe, and you were. No, actually, I'm Josh.
So we have Matt, Josh, and Josh.
Exactly. Look, he is turning red. Look how red he is.
All right, let's move forward.
All right.
What, you just want to skip past that amazing thing that just happened there?
Well, for whatever reason, I'm like, Joe should go second, but then Matt pointed at me, so I was about to say, this is Joe, and then I'm Josh.
All righty. So today is March 13th, 2016. You can find this podcast on Spreaker and on YouTube, Recklessly Skeptical. You can find our other channels, ZZZ Giant Awake on YouTube, and The Evil Atheist. Remember, atheist is plural. And also, join us on Facebook, The Evil Atheist Closed Group, not the community page. Nothing is going on there. So we wanted to read another quote from Fighting God, David Silverman's book. So here we go. Quote, "We are going to win this fight if we keep pushing. This I can promise. The opponents of religious equality may have money, power, and numbers, but we are going to win because their gods don't exist. Their preachers tell lies, their claims about morality are false, and slowly but surely, everyone is figuring it all out. The lie of God, which apparently started with the Neanderthals, is nearing its end, and good riddance."
Good fucking riddance.
Let's win this battle. So we're going to start with the secular story, and this is being reported by Pathos. Quote, "Lawmakers in Why Is This Still Happening, Oklahoma, are still pondering a Religious Freedom Act, which would make it legal for businesses to refuse service to certain people, say LGBT people or people of a different race, if serving them would violate their religious beliefs." Now, Oklahoma Democratic State Representative Emily Virgin has a perfect solution to one-up this gross proposal. Businesses who plan to exercise their religious freedom by discriminating against certain groups of people must post a public notice of their intention to do so. Now, I know Josh has some thoughts on this,
Yeah.
and I think I agree with you.
And so there are some things that's just impossible. Like, you can't fucking do that. Then that's like with housing and stuff like that. You cannot discriminate in housing. If you rent, you have to be open to renting to whoever, regardless of race, gender, sexual orientation, anything like that. But when it comes to doing business like selling cakes and stuff like that, I think that you should, in many cases, be able to be bigoted in my mind. And that's definitely bigoted. You're not doing anything besides being bigoted when you refuse services to somebody based on any of those qualities. But you should have to post it on the front of your store so that everyone has the option to either decide whether to do business with you or not. And that's something that because Arizona fought this a little while back, and they were trying to use religious liberty or religious freedom. And it's like, you know what? I'd almost rather prefer that I know whether who I'm shopping from is bigoted. Like, I won't do business with Hobby Lobby. I haven't eaten Chick-fil-A in more than a year because of their stances on LGBTQ people. And I just wish that we knew that about I wish we knew that about everybody. So, like, I don't want to buy cake from, like, you say I get married. I don't want to buy cake from a shop where the owner is bigoted and thinks bad things about same-sex couples.
And I'm kind of torn here. I understand your logic. It makes sense to me that these businesses should be able to do this, even though it's bigoted, but they should put a sign out so everybody has the right to shop there or not. But at the same time, I'm conflicted because I don't know. When you open your doors for business, you open your doors to the public. Shouldn't your doors be open to the entirety of the public?
Yeah, and I would think yes, but there are some of these battles we're not going to win, so we might as well get the next best thing.
But I think we are winning these battles. Like the cake, for example, didn't the court rule in favor of the lesbian couple, correct?
Yeah, in that circumstance, yes. In liberal states, you're always going to win. But in states where the judges don't have that same good history, you're not necessarily going to get that.
Yeah, and at the same time, I agree with you. I think that if you open up a business, you do have the right to refuse to people. I don't know. It's a hard thing. But I think if this Religious Freedom Act does pass, then they should have to post that on their wall. We are not going to serve blacks. We are not going to serve LGBTQ.
And of course, I'd prefer that it was just mandated that all businesses have to do business to everyone who's not breaking a law.
So here's another aspect, and my uncle, who he's a smart guy, he's Catholic. He brought up, and I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this, Josh. So he is like the president or something of an
Charwin.
God.
Of a company that does electricity. Here, we'll just say it that way. And he brought up, what if somebody went to him for him to do the electrical work in their building, and it happened to be an abortion clinic, and he was against doing that work. How would you feel about that?
It's a core service. And that's what I was saying at the beginning. Like housing, electrical stuff, plumbing, stuff like that it's a core service. If you provide it, you have to provide it to anybody. You do not have any. There should be no way that a religious liberty right or law or anything like that should have the right to refuse.
That makes sense. But baking a fucking cake is not a core service.
Yeah, it's not a core service. It's an elective thing. You don't need cake at your wedding. It's obviously nice too, and most people will have it. But there's other alternatives to buying it from the local bakery.
Okay, that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right, so let's move forward. We were going to talk about the Republican Civil War. If you guys are not paying attention to this and you are into politics, you're missing the biggest story in politics to date. And there are two huge stories that are coming out on each side. And I've mentioned this before. One might tear apart the Democratic Party. One might tear apart the RNC. So on the Democratic side, it's not as likely to happen right now. It does look like Hillary is going to win. I hate to say that, but that's the reality of it. But in the circumstance where Bernie does come from behind and catch up to her and win and beat her with pledged delegates, if the superdelegates decide to go against the will of the public or against the pledged delegates, then they'll be overriding the will of the people.
And I did see a story, Charwin, of a superdelegate from, I think it was from Vermont. I can't remember exactly where he was from, but he tweeted something about supporting Hillary, and somebody tweeted back, you need to go with the will of the people, and was criticizing him for that.
Yeah.
And he said, I do not represent the people. I was selected, and I'm going to do what I think is best.
So here's kind of the idea behind a republic, and this is a little on the philosophy side, so the philosophical side, is that the reason we elect representatives instead of voting on every law, one reason is because to have everybody vote on every law, it seems ridiculous, especially with a government as large as what we have. The second reason you select representatives is they're supposed to be knowledgeable about what they're doing. They're supposed to be somewhat specialists in creating and defining policy. The issue that comes up, so like we have superdelegates, but that was not something that we selected to have. We the people did not select to have the superdelegate system. Technically, the superdelegates are supposed to pledge with their conscience, kind of how we're supposed to vote with our conscience, just how we feel we should vote. But superdelegates, to history, to the sake of history, we have never had a superdelegate. The superdelegates decide against the will of the people, as well as there's never been a brokered convention in modern history. The reason that this is important is because the only part of our process that's democratic is the election of people. So if our elective process gets overridden because we have some superdelegates, again, not ones we selected, because we don't select the superdelegates.
Yeah, they are They are selected by the DNC.
and the RNC.
Yes.
Then the RNC has like very few compared to the DNC. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. They shouldn't vote against the will of the conscience of the people because they're just saying, oh, democracy, there's no such thing.
Yeah.
So and then if they have a brokered convention and Trump goes into that leading, and they gets overridden, then that is fucked up. Again, it's saying, you think you're in a democracy? Fuck you. We say you're not in a democracy. But the Civil War really started. The Republican Civil War started when Mitt Romney decided to hold a press conference. That's really kind of what I think of as the beginning of it. And it is split right down the middle. You've got Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, and a bunch of other people who are obviously somewhat within the system that is the Republican electoral process. They have huge audiences, and they're saying, hey, no, you should support whoever the candidate is. You should unite behind that. But then you have Mitt Romney, you have Glenn Beck, you have what's the guy's name who was the candidate not before Romney on the Republican side against
McCain?
Yeah, McCain. You have John McCain.
Okay.
All of them are lining up and saying, hey, no.
And I think Paul Ryan spoke out against Trump as well.
Yeah, and so you have the Republican Party Trump has become such a stressor on the Republican Party, you might see this split. And so if people go burning or bust, Hillary can still technically win if the Republican Party has a brokered convention and selects somebody besides the person who's leading. And in that case, really, if I were a Republican, you should really tear apart the RNC. You should ask for the immediate step down of the president and all of the chair people of the RNC, just like how I'm planning on if the DNC does has the super delegates override. I'm going to we're going to all have to work together to form a group to ask the DNC, the president, and all of the chair people to step down because that's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, it could be. It takes away our ability to
Our
vote.
democracy.
It
Yeah.
takes it away. It's like, well, then what the fuck is the point of voting if you're just going to turn around and put the person that you feel like you want in charge, or have the nomination to have the nomination when the fucking people want somebody else. And that's the point of the government. The government is supposed to be there for the people, by the people. And if the people are fucking saying we want this person and they turn around and give us somebody else, then why do we even need you? There's no reason for you to be there because you're not doing what we want you to do. We want you to do what we want you to do. That is the fucking point of the government.
Yeah.
So
And if you're not doing the will of the American people, then you need to go.
Well, I think there's two factors to that. And I agree with you, but I just want to point out a couple things. So the first thing, if that does happen, I don't think we need to call for the president and whatever of the DNC to step down. I think we need to call for the DNC to be abolished.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. And this is one of the major failings of having a two-party system. All of a sudden, a handful of people on the right and a handful of people on the left have all the power on selecting who we vote for.
And the other thing I want to point out, Joe, on your point, the will of the people, and I completely agree with you on your point, but I just want to point out that we technically live in a constitutional republic, so the will of the people is not necessarily the final say. The Constitution is the final say.
Yeah.
But
We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay. But where you are saying we want to elect this person, that has nothing to do with the Constitution, and that is of the will of the people. But when
Yeah.
it comes to making laws and all that, the final say should be the Constitution.
Well, no. So the Constitution protects us from having certain rights taken away, and also gives the government some type of instruction on how it works.
Well, that's what I mean, because when you look at them trying to make gay marriage illegal, that was the will of the people here in Utah.
Sure, but
what overrides it is the Constitution.
yes, but the Constitution gets its power from the will of the people. Like if we the people decide, hey, we're done with the Constitution, it no longer represents what we want. It's
Yes,
no
but
longer,
as of now, everybody holds the Constitution to be the will of the people.
yeah, as of now, but that could change.
It could change. Yes, I completely agree.
Okay, so let's move forward to. We have a pretty cool science story, I think.
We do, and I think we decided that every week when I give the science story, I'm I read the story and then subconsciously I say, it's pretty cool and stuff. So I think we decided that the science story segment is going to be a pretty cool science story. So
pretty cool science.
Pretty cool science.
You don't really have a story on there.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's a little lame, but whatever. You guys didn't fucking give us
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Bill Nye the Science Guy. Bill.
All right.
We need to film this shit so the people can see your face, Joe.
Was it pretty funny?
It was pretty funny.
Thanks, Matt. All right, so this science story that I'm reading today has
been brought to you by PBS and a viewer like you.
I haven't heard that in so long. Nobody out of Utah would probably know what that is.
Dude, PBS?
That's a national thing.
Is that national? I thought that was local.
Mitt Romney said he would take away PBS and Sesame Street, and now Sesame Street is on fucking HBO.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Fuck. All right, so this comes from I Fucking Love Science, March 11th, 2016. Remarkable breast cancer trial destroys tumors in just 11 days.
That's awesome.
All right, guys, this is what science does. Okay, so new research presented at the European Breast Cancer Conference in Amsterdam has revealed that a pair of drugs are able to eliminate some types of breast cancers in just 11 days. This surprising finding, which came out of Cancer Research UK-funded trial, means that some women afflicted with breast cancer may never need to undergo chemotherapy. Basically, what chemotherapy does is kills everything inside of you, including you. And then when all the cancer is gone, they basically try to bring you back.
Yeah.
And a lot of people chemotherapy is painful, it sucks. I think we talked about cancer quite a bit last week and or the week before, I can't remember. But cancer and chemotherapy, the main tool they use to fight it is just it sucks. It's extremely painful. I just said that. You don't want to go through it.
But it's the best thing we have. And I think that's important to point out.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people out there that badmouth chemotherapy and say it's poison and blah, blah, blah. It is.
It is poison.
It is.
Yeah.
But it has saved countless lives.
Yeah. But that's the thing.
But this is awesome. This is if we can find something better than chemo like this.
Yeah.
And they don't have to go under chemo. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I don't want people to be deterred from getting chemotherapy.
No, yeah.
if
you have
need it.
cancer and the doctor suggests chemo, maybe go get a second opinion, whatever. But if that's your only option, then do it. Because cancer sucks. It really does suck. The trial aimed to investigate the effects of Herceptin and Lapatinib, the two drugs commonly used during one type of breast cancer treatment, following tumor removal surgery and conventional chemotherapy. They both work by targeting a protein known as HER2, one that drives the growth of some types of breast cancers, including some particularly aggressive variants. So in this instance, 257 women with HER2-positive breast cancer were given the drug combination, so both those drugs, after being diagnosed before surgery was due to take place. And remarkably, Charwin, 11% of the cancers were found to have entirely disappeared within just 2 weeks, and a further 17% of cases featured dramatically shrunken tumors. So this is a big deal, people. That's why we need research. That's why we need science. That's why you need to have a logical, reasonable mind, so you can put forth evidence and you can do studies like this, and you can change the fucking world. That's the point of science.
Yes, science is what demonstrably changes the world. Faith doesn't demonstrably change the world. I guess it can.
If you're going into another nation and killing everybody because they don't believe the same way that you do.
A plane into a building, it's demonstrably changing it. But the science works, and it's awesome.
And the only thing that discredits science
Is more science.
is more science.
Alrighty, so we have another story. This is about marijuana. So this is coming from the stonerscookbook.com. If you don't follow this page, you really should. So neuroscientists at the University of Buffalo's Research Institute on Addiction have found that the endocannabinoids are effective in combating depression. Endocannabinoids, which the body naturally produces, affect our cognitive, emotion, and behavior. High production of these compounds can reduce feelings of anxiety and pain while increasing appetite and positive feelings. Consuming cannabis feeds the endocannabinoid receptors in our brain, thus decreasing feelings of stress and anxiety. This research has stated that cannabis is and was able to restore normal endocannabinoid function and could help stabilize moods and ease depression. It should be noted that this research was only performed on rats, but that doesn't mean it can't translate to humans as well. And I just think this is amazing. And I'm a big proponent of legalizing marijuana recreationally for medical reasons. There's a lot of shit out there about marijuana curing cancer and all that. And, you know, a lot of it is bullshit. But there's also a lot of things out there that marijuana does help. And it does help in the treatment for people who are getting chemotherapy.
Yeah.
It helps with appetite, like this just said. It's an amazing thing. We should legalize it recreationally, medically on a national level, and I think it's amazing. And
I wanted to point out that you say a lot of it's bullshit, but there have been some studies done that do point towards it helping reducing cancer tumors and whatnot, cancerous tumors. But here's another thing: because it is a Schedule I drug, they
can't do studies on it
federally, and that's the thing.
It's really hard to do studies.
They need to decriminalize it and move it from a Schedule I drug down to the other 2 or 3 at least, and do more research. I think the more research we find on this, the better knowledge we'll have of it, and we can, if it's really good for something, we can focus on that, you know. But it needs to be done. The research needs to be done.
Yeah, and I think what Matt was trying to say is that if you read a story that says, "Oh, smoke pot instead of doing cancer cures," then that's what you should look for. I think Matt was just saying that there's a lot of good facts out there. There's a lot of questionable things out there. Be skeptical about the stories.
Yes, be skeptical.
Exactly.
Be skeptical, but I am completely open to it. Maybe if they reschedule it so it's not a Schedule I and they can do studies on it, maybe it does cure cancer in some sort of way.
Yeah.
And I'm totally open to that. But let's be skeptical and only look at the evidence as we go through this process of legalizing marijuana.
Yeah, let's stick to the facts.
Yeah, and I don't think we need to change the schedule that it's on. I think we should do
we
what
definitely
Bernie...
need to change the
No,
schedule.
I think what we need to do is take it off. I mean,
decriminalize it.
Yeah,
Yes,
decriminalize
exactly.
it 100%.
If we can decriminalize it, I'm for that 100%.
Oh, yeah.
But if we can't and we just have to reschedule it, let's at least reschedule it, because if we reschedule it, colleges across the fucking country will start doing studies on it.
Yeah, remember a couple months ago when that legislation was introduced?
From Bernie?
Yeah, from Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
Hitler's like, "Oh, we need to do more research. We don't know enough."
You can't do research on it, dumbass, right now.
Because it's a Schedule I.
Well,
Yeah, it just drives me nuts.
yeah, she wants to change the schedule of it, but she doesn't want to decriminalize it.
Probably because she's making too much money from the
Prison
lobbyists.
Yep.
Quite possibly. All right, so
That's fact.
that's
Josh, look it up.
It's true.
Okay.
And then I wanted to say something real quick, too, about that. Okay, medical use. Yeah, it has a lot of benefits and stuff. And a lot of people are still upset. Oh, well, you just want to smoke it and get high. Who the fuck cares? Yeah, I like getting high. I just want to, when I get off work, I want to sit down. I want to drink a beer. I want to take a couple of hits and watch some TV and relax. What the fuck is wrong with that?
Yep.
I'm not getting in my car and running over kids.
Yep.
You know what I mean? All hammered drunk, you know?
Alcohol kills 50,000 people every year in the U.S. Marijuana kills 0.
Yeah, so who cares?
Alrighty, so do you guys have anything else to say on this topic?
I'm good.
Nope, that's it.
All right, so our next story is brought to us by ucl.ac.uk. So religion in the United States is declining and mirroring patterns found across the Western world, according to new research from UCL and Duke University in the United States. The study, published in the American Journal of Sociology, shows a drop in the number of Americans who claim religious affiliations, attend church regularly, and believe in God. It also finds that these drops are driven by generational differences, which is obvious. So Professor David Voaz, UCL Institute of Education, said, quote, "These declines aren't happening fast, but the signs are now unmistakable. It has become clear that American religiosity has been declining for decades, and the decline is driven by the same dynamic of generational change that has driven religious decline across the developed world." And if you read further on in this story, it talks about how the U.S. seemed to be the anomaly where we weren't declining in religion like the rest of the world, but it's doing it so slowly, like he just said, that it took so long to get the data, but now we are seeing that we are also declining.
Yeah, and I think
That's so cool.
And I think it's going to happen really fast here. I think it's going to drop off like a rock.
Yeah, if you read David Silverman's book, he puts a lot of numbers and stats out there, and it actually appears to be a little more rapid. And it's all about the confusion of the word atheist.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't know what the hell the word atheist means.
Yeah, and he argues at least in the presentation I saw, I got to see him live. He's talking about a hockey stick shaped decline or increase in non-religiosity, which is it's going to be slow at first, and all of a sudden it's going to leap like a hockey. So it'll look kind of like a hockey stick. And I think that that's true. One of the disturbing things, though, is in Europe. Europe kind of lost a lot of its religiosity really quick. But the disturbing thing in Europe is now Islam is
on the rise, correct?
So yeah, it's religion's making a comeback in that way. Part of it has to do with the immigration patterns or the migration patterns of human beings immigrating into Europe. But it seems like there's also some people converting over from non-religious or from Christian to Islam or to Muslim.
That's scary.
Discouraging. Yeah. And so I heard Aaron Ra. If you guys don't know who Aaron Ra is, he's a YouTuber. He's writing a book right now, and he's done like the 20 primary problems of fundamentalist religion. But he essentially, I think it was him who phrased it as, we're now racing with Islam to see who's going to win the modern world. And that's a scary thought. If we lose, the world, one of the things that worries me about religion more than anything else, like my religious neighbors are fine, but it's when fundamental religion takes over, if it takes over a sufficient amount of the country, no matter what the religion is, that they can be pulled back into more theocratic thoughts and ideas and ways of practicing.
And
sorry, I think it's
we're
funny.
dancing again, Joe.
Yeah. People on my Facebook, even in person, a lot of people fight in America over Republican, Democrat, socialism, capitalism, this, that, and the other. I think any government has the potential to be dangerous, especially theocracy. I think theocracy is more dangerous than any of them.
And I wanted to point something else out that's kind of off topic, but Josh, how you said the word fundamental. And I think that's key, because when you hear people talk about religious extremists or religious fundamentalist, and I try to not use the word religious extremist, because for the most part, they are just fundamentalist. They are taking the Bible, the Quran, for what it actually says. They are not being extreme. If you look at it that way, they're not being extreme. They are just taking the Bible, the Quran, for what it says. And I think that's a key thing we need to point out, is that the books say these things, they're doing what the book says, and it's fucking horseshit.
Yeah. So challenge it anywhere you can. And that's another thing about just kind of to skip topics, because we're essentially done with all of our topics for the day, is that Trump seems to be drawing a lot of fundamentalist ideas out of people, like, oh, ban all the Muslims, take away any nuance from the picture. We should remove all of the illegal immigrants. So he's drawing out, and there's some power to that sort of a feeling, like, yeah, let's go get them, they're the other, or like, you're special, you're key, you're the good guy, you should rise up and fight for good guy things. And there's a lot of power to losing that nuance. Like, it emotionally, it's appealing. And so all these people are becoming more fundamentalist in how right-wing they are, and that's a scary thing.
And people need to realize that we are not automatically the good guys. Progressives, conservatives, Republicans, whatever, United States, Israel, whatever. We are not automatically the good guys. What makes you the good guy is your actions. You know, your actions are what make you the good guy. Mm-hmm. And Trump talks about ISIS decapitating people and all that, and that shit's fucking awful. But when he says we need to bomb their families, we need to fight dirty like they are, you're talking about doing the same shit they're doing, and your actions are what makes you the good guy or the bad guy. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but that makes you a bad guy.
Trump's a bad guy. He really is. When he talks about shit like that, would he actually go through with it? I don't know. I don't want to find out. Well, I don't want him to be president.
We have some idea about what his followers are willing to do, and from what he says, I mean, just look at the fights that are breaking out at his rallies. And prior to Chicago, I mean, you can watch videotapes. Most of the times, the protesters are being pretty peaceful, and they're getting yelled at with racial slurs and punched. Like, there was that video where the guy got sucker punched.
And then he got tackled by the security. He's the one who got punched, and then the security tackles him.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
There's video of women being pushed on the ground and kicked and pulled, and it's bad. I wouldn't put it past Trump at all.
Yeah, not at all.
All right, well, let's wrap up on that really terrifying note. But
well, thanks, guys.
It is terrifying. It really is.
It's important to vote, though. So vote, and also be kind to people. Don't buy into fundamentalism if you're a religious person. Fight it if you can. I mean, if you want your religion to survive moving forward, you need to fight fundamentalism in your own religion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, guys. Please share, do all that stuff. We really appreciate it. That's the only way this is going to grow. Remember to check us out on Facebook, The Evil Atheist. Check us out on YouTube and Spreaker, Recklessly Skeptical, The Evil Atheist, and ZZZ Giant Awake. We appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful week.
Wait, so are we done already?
Yeah, we're 33 minutes into recording. We're done.
I was having so much fun. It just went by way too fast.
Well, we'll have to do it again next week or something like that.
You know what? Maybe we will.
Well, maybe we will do it next week.
Maybe we should tell our listeners to tune in next week.
Tune in next week, guys, for more of the Recklessly Skeptical podcast.
But thank you, guys. Until next week, think passionately.
Bye.
Peace. That's a good one. Light is fading. Trump's arrogance and bullying tactics are now a mirror of many of his followers as